At this point, pretty much everybody knows who Frank Gore is. He's one of the best running backs in NFL history, and seemingly for 2 decades, he was running past opposing teams' defenses. What many people don't know though is that he has a son who was actually a pretty good college football player. After going under the radar in high school, Frank Gore Jr. signed with Southern Miss, and over his time there, he actually had a dominant career, and it looked like at one point, he had a real chance of going to the NFL. While there were some rumors of both him and his dad trying to play in the league at the same time, it would not end up happening, and sadly, Frank Gore Jr. would go undrafted. In today's video, I want to introduce you to who this guy is. We're going to talk about his crazy rise, his time at Southern Miss, and ultimately why he went undrafted. This is going to be a typical video about why a player's draft stock fell, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you didn't support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could cover next. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to Frank Gore Jr. In order to understand how he got to this point, we first need to go back in time. That starts with his father, Frank Gore. He was the definition of an underdog. After 2 ACL injuries in college, he ended up going off to the NFL and then had a terrific career with the San Francisco 49ers. He ended up playing 16 full seasons in the NFL and is third in the NFL's all-time career rushing yards with over 16,000. The guy was absolutely insane and was good on pretty much every single team he played for. Not only was Gore a tank, but he tried to become the first father-son NFL duo ever, as his son Frank Gore Jr. was also pretty good. Jr. said, quote, "He's my dad, my mentor, my trainer, my best friend, and my everything all in one." Frank Gore Jr. was born in March of 2002, and this was 2 months after his dad won a national title at Miami. From an early age, it was clear that he would follow in his dad's footsteps, as going back in time, this was always a football relationship. Frank Gore's name first became legendary in the year 2000, as while at Coral Gables High School, he set the county record for rushing yards in a season with nearly 3,000. 18 years later, it's unmatched. He said early on he felt like his son could play football at a high level, and this came after a few games in the front yard. His dad said, quote, "He already knew what to do even at that age. I was absolutely amazed." By the age of 3, he was joining his older cousins for pickup football in the front yard, and he always lost, but he never cried. He suited up for his first game at the age of 4, and 3 years later, he scored 7 touchdowns in 1 game. This was with the Coral Gables Panthers, and 4 of those were on offense, 3 of them were on defense. Aside from teaching his son the fundamentals of how to throw, catch, and receive a handoff, he took a back seat in his son's early education when it came to football. He said, quote, "I let him be a kid. Just because I love playing ball, I don't want to make him feel like they have to do it too, you know." While he took a step back, Frank Jr. was paying close attention. His dad said, quote, "We'd play a game away, and I would come home, and he's asking me questions about it." While living in Miami with his mom, Frank Jr. would eventually visit his dad during the Niners season, and instead of hanging out in the players' lounge or in the whirlpool tub, he was watching practice, and was absolutely locked in. This led Frank Gore Jr. to know what he wanted to do. He said, quote, "I knew what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be like, and what it would take." Sadly, while his dad was playing in the NFL, he was sort of an absentee dad, and was unable to watch his son play. Together they would share the highs and lows of football life, and his favorite memory was when his son was 9 years old and was on his lap for a post-game interview. This came after the Niners beat the Falcons in the 2012 NFC Championship thanks to 2 Gore touchdowns, and he said it was awesome to see how happy his son was up there. In March of 2018, Gore would sign a 1-year deal with the Dolphins and would bring him back home for the first time as a pro. He said it was the happiest time of his life, and he got a chance to see Frank play. Turning over to his actual career, he eventually arrived at Killian High School in late of 2017. He ended up grabbing the starting role as a sophomore there, and by the end of the year, he was the guy on the team. From there, Frank Gore Jr. would take it very seriously, as he would rise at 6 a.m. and would train with guys such as LaShawn McCoy and Devin Singletary. Frank Sr. said, quote, "I wanted him to be around those guys to let him know he's nothing. I tell him, keep doing this, and you can be better than the guys you're next to right now." The results were evident in the summer of 2018, as Frank Sr. was able to watch one of his son's first games, and he said this, "I had people telling me that my son could play. I thought they were just saying that because I'm the dad." Any skepticism I had, though, ripped away right away, as he ripped off a big run on the opening carry of the game against North Miami Beach. After his junior year, he was named one of the top running backs in the class of 2020 in the state, and he had offers from schools such as Cincinnati, Kentucky, and FAU. Despite having a difficult 3-6 season, he ran for over 900 yards and had nearly 1,300 all-purpose yards. He showed natural ability and upside, and from there, he would continue to get better and better. During his senior year, he rushed for 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns, and even became a part-time quarterback. Recruiting sites listed him as a 3-star player, and after his first offer from Kentucky, he would have to decide where to go. He initially committed to play for Lane Kiffin in Florida Atlantic, but things would change. He would later decide to flip to their conference rival Southern Miss, and this came after Kiffin left for Ole Miss. Gore Jr. decided to decommit and would become the highest rated player in Southern Miss's recruiting class. According to 24/7 Sports, Gore was a 3-star recruit, the number 65 running back, and the 1,028th best player in the class of 2020. So, how would Gore do at Southern Miss? Well, let's take a look. When Gore arrived at Southern Miss, he was ready to go right away. Every day he would rise at 6 a.m. and would practice his heart out. He said it shaped him into the person he was today, and in 2020 as a true freshman at Southern Miss, he led the team with 708 yards. He ran the ball 121 times and averaged nearly 6 yards per carry. Because of that, he was named to the Conference USA second team and was also an all-freshman team. During that season, Gore went over 100 yards 3 times against North Texas, North Alabama, and FAU, and the team was 3-0 when he ran for over 100 yards. He had a pretty good season, and as a sophomore, he would get even better. There were even a few moments when he would have to play quarterback, as at one point the team had to rotate through 4 non-quarterbacks, and in a game against Louisiana Tech, he actually completed 4 of 8 passes for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did also have an interception. 2021 was a solid year, and his best game came against Grambling as he had 162 yards. He finished with just over 800 yards and 5 touchdowns, and going into 2022, Gore was becoming a bigger and bigger name. He started out on a high note against Liberty, as in a 4-overtime thriller, he ran for a career-high 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. From there, he would continue on, and would also dominate in their game against UL Monroe, as he once again set a new career high with 199 yards in that one. He finished the regular season with over 1,000 yards rushing, but then the best game that put him on the map would happen. In the Lending Tree Bowl against Rice, Gore would run for 329 yards and 2 touchdowns. You heard that right. He set the FBS Bowl record with 329 rushing yards. Not only was that a school record, but he had just beat Appalachian State's Cameron Peoples' bowl record in 2020. It was a pretty insane season, but he would decide to come back for one more year. In 2023, Gore would have a career year, as he ran for 1,100 yards with 10 total touchdowns. He had a couple notable performances, including 247 yards and 2 touchdowns against Appalachian State, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns against Texas State, and then 158 yards and 2 touchdowns against UL Monroe. Despite putting up over 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns in 4 years with the Eagles, he was not considered that big of a draft prospect. He said, quote, "After discussions with those who I trust and have my best interest, I've decided to enter the 2024 NFL Draft, placing my future in God's hands." According to NFL Mock Database, Gore was a projected 7th round pick and the 253rd overall prospect. Unfortunately, as the 3 days of the draft would go on, Gore would get passed each time. Ultimately, he would not hear his name called, but would sign an undrafted deal with the Buffalo Bills. His dad took to social media and said, quote, "We're good. We're going to Buffalo and we're going to do our thing. Tell them that they better be ready, and I know what I'm raising. People slept on my son, and they slept on me too. Our bloodline is for real, and our pre-draft testing was identical. All the scouts could tell he was my son, and I'm happy for my son to get to this point, and we're coming to play." Well, at this point, I don't know if Frank Gore Jr. will make the roster. I'm going to put money on it that he does. Right now, he'll join a running back room that includes James Cook and former Kentucky running back Ray Davis, who they selected this year. Gore has a chance to get that last running back spot on the roster, and knowing his talent and how all this typically works, I think he'll get it. Will he have a long career or play at the same level as dad? Probably not, but for Frank Gore Jr. to get to this point, it's pretty insane. A lot of times, high-profile players' sons end up flaming out or getting into trouble, but Frank produced, became the best running back in his school's history, and now will get a chance to compete on the same stage as his dad had. To me, that's pretty cool, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.